Hey guys, welcome back to episode 13 of Sounds Like a You Problem. I'm your host, Daisy, and today I might yell at you a little bit, but it's because I love you. This is something I did not even prompt myself for. Today is about you are not being punished, you're being prepared. Let me tell you how many times I had to learn this lesson to understand the gravity of it. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Life is right? But life's a journey. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to become the best version possible of ourselves with the limited amount of time that we are given, okay? Growing old is a privilege so many are denied. So I want you to know that when things happen, you are not being punished. You're being prepared. Let's say your car needs something big service done to it. It's not drivable. This has to be done. And you are like, great, this is going to break me. I already live paycheck to paycheck, and now I have this huge expense. It's around the holiday times. Like, let's put as many inconveniences as we can to this analogy, right? You are going to walk away feeling defeated, feeling like this always happens to you, and just feeling like crap. If you turn what you are experiencing into a lesson, you can see that you're not being punished. You're not being punished for your hard work. You're not being punished for already living paycheck to paycheck. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Life is trying to tell you that you need an emergency fund savings and you don't have it. Why don't you have an emergency fund savings? This is vital. This is so important. This is something no one taught me about. When I was 19, I moved to Florida for 30 days with my aunt, and she was like, you have to have like at least 2 months of rent saved up before you buy yourself any kind of leisurely, pleasurable activity, item, etc. And I was like, I'm 19. Good luck. Yeah, right. I live with you. I did pay rent, but I only lived there 30 days. Anyway, I wish she would have, she would have been in my life sooner, and I wish I would have listened to her sooner. And this is actually something I only implemented very recently into my life. If you have anxiety every single time you swipe your credit card, every single time you swipe your debit card, every single time you buy anything of necessity, you need to have a savings. I don't care if it takes you $5 a day. I don't care if it takes you, you have to have self-discipline, guys. Come on. You have to discipline yourself. Find something to cut out. Give up Netflix. Give up Starbucks. Give up something for a certain amount of time and put that money away. And open a separate bank account and leave it there. I just recently did this. I was listening to a podcast and it inspired me. He was like, I have 6 months of rent set aside for anything that may happen no matter what. I have it set aside and it is my safety net. And it blew my mind because he makes a lot more money than I do. So I'm not in a position where I could put 6 months away. But I was like, you know what I can do? I can start with 1 month. And that really quickly grew into 2 months. And I was like, 3 months is good. 3 months, I think, is feasible. And given my income to debt to, ratio on a monthly basis, that was feasible for me and a lot more attainable. I will eventually grow it to 6 months of backup rent. But just knowing that it's there, like every single time I'm like, oh, what if this client cancels? I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because guess what? I set aside a savings. I'm like, what? Oh, now my engine oil needs, or I'm sorry, my brake oil. I need brake fluid in my car. This is something actually happening in my life. I need brake fluid. And I'm like, great, because Mini Coopers are so expensive and I had to get a Mini Cooper. But the point of you're not being punished, okay? All of these things happen. But that analogy for, car troubles, which I feel like is a really, really, really common denominator in a lot of our lives, which is why I chose to use that one specifically, is one preparing you. Like, if you've got to take a step back and be like, okay, why does this always happen to me? This always sets me in a rut. This always sets me back. I'm never ahead. Get ahead. It is preparing you. It is teaching you to get ahead so that you're prepared. You are not being punished. They are trying to teach you a lesson. They are the universe, your spirit guides, Jesus, Christ, and God himself, okay? Whoever they is to you, they're trying to prepare you and you're not listening. You are so self-absorbed yet not self-aware that you cannot receive these messages. You look at every single red light you hit, right? Do you guys remember that analogy? And you never get to enjoy the green lights. Of course, things happen, right? But that is like my one of my biggest tips that I can tell you that will help you financially feel like you have a lot more freedom and also help heal your relationship with money is setting aside a certain amount of rent and just opening a whole entire new bank account. Okay, don't keep all your money in the same bank account because it's going to get complicated, it's going to get confusing. You're going to be like, "Oh, I can't go over. I've got this here." Go open a completely separate different bank account. It is so freeing. Like, I did this literally a couple weeks ago and it was just so, I was like, wow, like I'll never use this card, but if I need to, I can. Like, that's the beauty of it. And I think a lot of times you feel like you're being punished financially. I think that that's a very relatable concept, but there are other things. When I was 14, my best friend had just passed away and my mom was on the run. She had a warrant out for her arrest. So she left me at my boyfriend's house and I lived with his mom, and I lived there all summer, and randomly at the end of the summer she got sick. I called someone to take her to the doctor, and 2 days later she passed away. And he was like, "I'm not planning this funeral," and there was no one else to plan it. So at 14 years old, I was planning a funeral to my first boyfriend ever's mom, who also did drugs with my mom, but my mom left me there because she was on the run from the law. If I can look at that now, not as a punishment, but for preparation for things to come, you can turn anything that's going on into preparation and not punishment. I felt like I was cursed. Like, everyone who ever actually loved me, aka my best friend and his mom, were gonna die. Like, everyone around me was dropping like flies, it felt like, and it felt like the people that I held closest to my heart were just leaving me, and I felt like I was being punished by God. I'm not even kidding. Like, for like probably a year straight, anytime anyone asked me, I'd be like, "No, God, no." Like, "Do you believe in God?" "No." "No, I'm an atheist." "No, I don't believe he exists." "No." And every time I said that, I knew that I was denying that I felt that something bigger than me does exist. I knew that I was lying every single time I said that. And I felt that friction and that resistance within my spirit. And eventually I came around because I was like, I just don't understand. And I had to understand why such a beautiful, beautiful soul was taken from my life and from this world, what was way, 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 way too soon. He was barely 17 years old, and it just didn't make sense to me. And of course, I'm like 15 grappling with this death, trying to understand it and not understanding it. And I finally realized, like, this is bigger than me. This is so selfish of me to think that he was taken from my life and that this is my punishment. This is his reward. There has to be something better than what we're enduring and experiencing now. This is not his punishment. My punishment. It's his reward. And when I realized that at like 15 or 16 years old, it blew my mind. Like, this is a life lesson that has been a common theme throughout my life. And it is hard to be aware of these things when bad things happen because they put you in a bad mood and it's very negative. And that makes you're thinking very cloudy and you're just like, I can't focus. Like, this day sucks. I just want to go home and sleep. I get that. I relate to that. We're human. And you can do all those things, whatever helps you get through that moment. But then I want you to take a step back and be like, did this happen because this is teaching me something? Did this bad thing happen, or this thing that I'm viewing as a bad thing, is it actually a punishment? Is it actually bad? Or could it be preparing me for something? Could it be teaching me something that I'm not acknowledging? Because I'm telling you, my friend, if you are not acknowledging it, it is going to keep happening over and over and over and over. It's going to be a theme. It's going to keep happening. It's hard, and you might even think that you are being taught something you're not actually being taught. So you might take, precautions for this to not happen again in the way that you think the lesson hit you. And then it happens again and you're like, okay, but you taught me something, I prepared for it, and then now it's happening again. Well, it might not have been teaching you what you thought it was teaching you. I know this is very vague and sounds like a bit like hard to follow, so hopefully you're keeping up here with me, because the whole concept of this is that I want you to know you're not being punished, you're being prepared. And if you can remember that in the hard times and the dark times and the weird places and the dark corners of your life, you can turn it into a lesson. And usually when you see that lesson, it gives you so much hope and like just illuminates this light on your life path, which none of us know exactly where that's going or when it ends, right? So to have a little bit of like what feels like maybe reassurance or redirection can be really, really peaceful and help with some peace. That's it. That's the only word I'm going to use to describe that. It can give you some peace. I think, like I said, that this theme occurred in my life so often, and again, I ignored it, and I was just like, woe is me. That is a you problem. We are no longer, woe is me, everything happens to me, I'm the victim, it always happens to me. It is happening for you, okay? You just have to see it. So you have to be self-aware. So are we aware of thyself so we can see it? That is all I'm trying to do. That's all I'm trying to help you with. This is actually a pretty quick episode, but I don't want to just keep reiterating and shoving down your throat the same phrase over and over, but I want you to know that no matter what happens, you can find the silver lining, you can find a lesson, you can find some good, even if it's not good for you, it might be good for someone else. You break up with someone because it just wasn't right, and you guys both know it's for the best, and you're having a terrible time going through it, but he gets a job offer that has been his dream career his entire childhood, and he has to move across country. Well, you were never going to move across country, and that's not good for you. It doesn't benefit you at all, and this breakup sucks. But it was good for him. You can find some good in the world. And I think that if we are really trying to better ourselves and become the best version of ourselves, it gets easier and easier to be happier and to find joy and to get through the dark moments, because they're still gonna come. We don't get to make them disappear, but you don't get to enjoy the good moments without the bad moments. How many cliches can I say in this episode? I'm sorry if I've annoyed you with that, but I just really, really want you to know that if you look for the lesson, you can learn so much, and it can be such a brighter situation than what it may feel like you're enduring. And I love you, and I want you to enjoy your life, and I want it to be filled with joy, and I want you to feel like you're making progress. And these things have helped me make progress, so I wanted to share it with you as your big sister. I love you all so much. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please leave me a comment of if this touched you in any way, shape, or form. And if you're on Spotify, if you could just do one little tiny little bitty thing and leave me a 5-star rating, it means so much to me. It helps me see that you guys are enjoying my content. It helps me grow and helps other people see and hear this message. I will see you guys all in the next episode of Sounds Like a You Problem.